All right, good morning, good afternoon out there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Merchant Services Slayers. Again, thanks for tuning in, guys. And today I've got a very exciting topic that I really want to discuss, I really want to cover. This is something that's actually out of Jordan Belfort's book, and it's actually an extremely important part to the steps of the sale that we use at Go Free Pay, but not only my personal kind of formula or steps to the sale that I use when I sell processing deals. Now, everybody out there has their own kind of, I guess, techniques and styles and that kind of stuff. It all follows still a very basic, simple process, right? Where you provide value for merchants on how much they can save, or different other value-added propositions if you don't sell price, right? And many different ways that you can show value to a merchant to get them to switch. But personally, this is one that I absolutely love to use because it is it's a pattern. Okay, it's called the Forrest Gump pattern. So today, I'm going to talk about the Forrest Gump pattern. I'm going to talk about what it is, okay, how to use it, when to use it, and then the two most crucial steps within our personal steps of the sale on how this is actually super effective, okay? And this is in basic human communication. This is taught in communication class, communication school, and college, so on and so forth, that there's a different name for it, but I do love the Forrest Gump pattern. Now, why do they call it the Forrest Gump pattern? Well, the Forrest Gump pattern, how he relates it to the movie. If you have not seen the movie, it is a great movie. Go check it out. But it's the very first part of the movie when he is getting on the bus. And when he actually goes over to the bus, it's really funny because it's his first day of school. He's sitting there with, he's a little bit physically handicapped and also a little bit mentally handicapped. But throughout the movie, he puts himself in certain situations which actually he gets out of, right? He gets out of, or he makes a huge impact without even knowing it. And that's kind of the premise of the movie. This actually plays into the Forrest Gump pattern pretty well, to where he's getting on the bus and the bus opens, and this is back probably in the late 40s or 50s or so on and so forth. And the bus driver looks down and she looks very kind of aggressive. She has a cigarette and she goes, "Hey kid, you getting on the bus or what?" And then, Forrest Gump looks back up at her. He's kind of in panic and shock. He looks up at his mom, looks back at the bus driver and says, my mama tells me to never talk to strangers." And the mom looks down at Forrest Gump and is confused because this is the bus driver. So this is a scenario where for everybody else, this should be normal. He should get on the bus. But he, at that point, doesn't realize that it is a normal situation. So for him to think quick on his feet, what he says is he looks around and he says, boom, in a quick instant, he says, "Well, my name's Forrest Gump and this and that," and he gives an introduction. And he says, "Now that we've introduced ourselves to each other," then the bus driver says, "Well, my name's Dorothy," or whatever, blah, 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 and, nice to meet you. And say, "Now that we're acquainted, we're no longer strangers," and then he gets on the bus. And Jordan Belfort talks about this a lot, which is pretty unique and pretty awesome, to the point where, that's what we must do as salespeople right off the bat, is that when people don't trust us in the sale, it tends to be a scenario of two different situations. And they've proven this in human communication and decision making, that it's not really a spectrum. It's not like we can land in the middle, we can land here. It's either we have a very strong tendency to not trust anyone at all. Okay, so at this end, never trust anyone, don't make decisions, or to extremely trust someone, right? It's very rare that you fall right in the middle. So if that's the case, and you're working in a competitive industry like merchant services, you can almost guarantee that the people that you're going to meet are automatically going to be put into a defensive situation where their pendulum is swung all the way over here. And all of us on this video, or that are watching this now, that have been in merchant services, can consistently see that, to the point where everyone that you meet, okay, is very difficult to work with when you first meet them. They don't trust you yet, right? And that's a huge key point within merchant services, because they've been pitched a lot. A lot of people have been taken advantage of. A lot of people have been put in bad situations, right? And have had a bad experience, because this is a product that has a long sales cycle with a lot of moving parts, a lot of components, and so on and so forth. So what we want to talk about with that, if it's that pendulum that's like this, and a merchant is sitting at this point where they do not trust you, right? And it's a situation where they need to trust you, our job is to get them to shift, okay? And if you can get them to shift, just like Jordan Belfort talks about, then you'll be surprised to understand that merchants will be more than willing to be your best friend. They'll be giving you referrals. They'll invite you into their business. I can't recall how many times that I've sold bar owners where they've invited me in for a game of pool and a drink, or restaurant owners that give me free food after the sale. And that's because when they first start, they're very aggressive and they don't like me and they don't trust me. That means that, you can see the difference when they first think that you're a customer and they smile and they say, "How are you doing?" And they realize you're a salesman, and boom, this brick wall goes a mile high and you have to overcome it. And that's extremely important within the Forrest Gump pattern, is to create the pattern. So that is the Forrest Gump pattern. Now we're going to talk about how to use it. Okay, so how are you using your Forrest Gump pattern? Okay, is basically you're writing out your introduction. Now, this sounds very stupid and simple, but not only within our steps of the sale, we call it the confident introduction. They're stating the agenda, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and then the narrative hook with that very important first part to the steps of the sale within merchant services. But you have to write down something personal. Now, that's something that we can't train within Go Free Pay or our steps of the sale. This is something that you need to add. So adding in your Forrest Gump pattern means that you need to write out 3 different interesting facts about yourself, or 3 different things that you would like to accomplish when you're selling your merchant, and that you can give when you give that introduction. The Forrest Gump pattern is a situation where you first acknowledge the merchant's objection or their concern or their facial look with the confident introduction when you start. Then you give your introduction. You tell them who you are. You tell them about your morals. And then you tell them about what you're going to accomplish here as far as for customer service. And you build up confidence within your product, yourself, and then also the company, right? That's the Forrest Gump pattern. And you're essentially telling them, okay, that now that we're introduced, then we can move forward. Okay, so the good part about that is that that's how you actually use it. Is you actually get a notebook and you write out those 3 things. Once those things are written out, okay, we need to talk about next is when do you use the Forrest Gump pattern? When do you use this kind of predetermined script that you've written out? Right, you've written out your morals. You can say, well, I stand by every customer they talk to, and I can be honest with you, John. Every customer they speak with has a lot of concerns, but then until they get to know me and they get to know my product and they get to know what we're all about, especially what I'm about, and what I can do for my customers, it puts us into a situation where we trust each other. Now, a good part of the Forrest Gump pattern is to kind of talk about this in a certain way that I love to use, is to, towards the end of the sale with the objections pattern and then close. But how you use this is you say, well, let me ask you this, John. Okay. Now, we only do processing once. You've had 3 or 4 providers before. But let's pretend I was your go-to guy. Okay. You just met me right now, right? And if I was your go-to guy and I sold you a house, okay, let's say that I was your real estate guy, then I sold you, let's just say your processing, which is what I'm here to do today, and I sold you your credit card processing, right? And I sold you, let's say 2 or 3 things. And out of those 3 things, everything went flawlessly. Okay, follow me here on this, John. Everything went flawlessly, everything went to a T, it was perfect. I gave you the same customer service that I give to all my previous customers. My company gives you customer service that they give to all their customers, which is A-rated. You get a great product, you get awesome value. Then at the end of the day, you probably wouldn't be telling me that you want to think about it, right? If it was the 4th product, you'd say, oh yeah, Carson, let's just do it, right? Let's just go, am I right? Okay, and believe it or not, guys, at that point, that Forrest Gump theory where you talk about your values and your concepts, at the very end of that, okay, at the very, very, very end of that, that's the cool part about that, is that 96%, 95% of the people that you're talking with, your potential clients, are going to say, well, yeah, but then they're going to follow back, but I don't know you yet. And I say, well, that process will actually never happen unless you give me a shot. Let's see, give me 1% of your trust, so that way that you give me the opportunity to earn the other 99%. Okay, that's when you use that when you use that is towards the end of the sale. Okay, when you actually have the pattern where you have objection, you deflect the objection, you go into the Forrest Gump pattern, and then you go for the close. Now again, same thing. If you get another objection, you go back to the objection, you go back into the Forrest Gump pattern, or way of dealing with that after you deflect it, and you go right back into the close. That is when you use the Forrest Gump pattern. Okay, it's extremely effective, but you have to write out the Forrest Gump pattern for yourself first. The second place that you want to use the Forrest Gump pattern is what we use in our steps of the sale at Go Free Pay is our confident introduction. Now, I'll be doing another video here a little bit on confidence within the sale, but it's important to understand that when you bring it to the table, the confident introduction is the pillar, the very first point of that communication. It starts off with that 7-second bias. It's extremely important and vital within that very first part of communication to lay that foundation so that the rest of the sale can take place later. Okay, so when you're using the Forrest Gump pattern to begin with, okay, it can start off with first formality within the company, formality within your morals, your morals, your moral attitude, what you can do for your previous customers, what you continuously do, then what you're going to do, so your process, and then at the very end, what you're going to do, which is the narrative hook, which is asking for their business, right? Now, again, you're going to get, well, I don't sign on the first day, and you're going to get all this other stuff, and then you're going to say, that's fine, that's completely okay, but that's not going to stop me from doing my position and asking for your business, right? So you're placing that into a framework, okay? We say the step 1, which is the confident introduction, and a lot of newer people that are watching this are going to say, well, Carson, that sounds very easy, I just introduced myself. And unfortunately, no, you break down the confident introduction to a lot of key points, and it's extremely important. First, okay, it's all about being very formal. This is how you look, how you dress, how you smell, how you conduct yourself, how you sit up straight, and you're dealing with a merchant. okay, and they're looking at you a little bit differently. Okay, at this point you establish a presence. Now you're not establishing dominance, you're establishing a presence for the confident introduction. And I say, hey, how you doing, man? Well, my name is Carson Cook, and I represent a company called Go Free Pay, and we specialize in corporate level credit card processing and all sorts of other financial products. And my name is Carson Cook, and what I do is I work with my customers on a very specific basis. I am face-to-face with them. I'm there when they need us. The company's there when they need us. We have an extremely solid product, and our customer service is paramount. Okay. Then you place confidence within the company and with yourself. Then the next step of the confident introduction is to state the agenda. And at that point, I say, so what my job is here today, John, is to get to know you and to get to know your business. Then what we do is we display you with some of our products to see how they can fit in there and if they can benefit. And if they can, that's phenomenal. And if they can't, then I'll leave it alone. But if they can, then we present it to you in a way that I am confident will help you, help us, help everybody involved. And then we present it to you. After we call our national accounts director into the office there to get pricing on certain things. Now, again, we have 100% free credit and debit card processing. We do charge a little bit for the equipment. Then we present it to you. And if you like it and we like it, then we go ahead and we set you up with it. So how does that sound? Now what I've done is I've alleviated all the stress throughout the rest of the steps of the sale. I have laid my foundation. I have actually gone through my Forrest Gump pattern, okay, where I've introduced myself, introduced my morals quickly, introduced formality of the company. Now I start to taper off and I get a little bit more unprofessional. I get a little bit more backed off, and then I move right into qualifying, where I say, well, great, man. So you notice I sat back in my chair and I said, well, John, tell me about your business, man. Tell me about you. I'll tell you about me. Now I'm bringing out the Forrest Gump pattern on my morals, my standpoints, different backgrounds and stories that I have to kind of help smooth the merchant into a process where they unload all the information that I need to use to present my deal properly and close the deal later. So look that up, ladies and gentlemen. The Forrest Gump pattern is awesome. It is a really, really good way to kind of present a situation where you can deal with not only a great introduction, but then also deal with a confident close. It's a transition into a close. So there's two parts of the steps of the sale where this falls into beautifully. Okay, giving that Forrest Gump pattern and being able to write down that pattern and being able to use it. So rock and roll, guys. Let's kick some ass. I'll see all you guys out there in the sales board, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Merchant Services Slayers, and I'll see you on the sales board. Let's go.